DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command your legion, claim your legacy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's AMA with DeFi Kingdoms. To start off with, we have to answer Professor's question from chat. Is there actually anything to talk about after yesterday's bombshells? Not really, no. We're actually just going to hang out for an hour. I was debating having Hubert redo the whole presentation. I think everything that was worth saying was said yesterday. Just kidding. We will be answering questions, of course. We do also have a few other updates that we are going to go into, but one of our updates was yesterday. So we had our roundtable yesterday. Thank you again to Hubert Cummerdale for taking a large section of his day to join us for that roundtable and walk through our upcoming governance votes, as well as a just boatload of alpha on the next burn mechanic that was planned. If you have not watched that roundtable, I highly recommend it. It is very worth it. You can watch it at like 1.5x probably and be okay if you want to save some time. However, in the meantime, if you have not watched it and you don't have time immediately to watch it, check out the general channel in the DFK Discord and look at the pinned messages. Shout out to Renpen, who was kind enough to write up a quick summary as she watched, which is super helpful. You'll find it pinned. It kind of gives a quick overview of everything. And then there's also been some pinned messages since, as Hubert has elaborated on some things. So you can at least get a good baseline idea out of there if you need to, until you have time to watch it, which I know you will all watch it. But Hubert, anything you want to add about yesterday in the roundtable?
Yeah, I guess thanks everyone who listened and endured all the math talk at the end. The version of that chart deck is now has the correct math, and I also kind of cleaned it up a little bit to make it a little bit more human readable as far as it goes. It was kind of more like programmer readable previously. It's still an effort, I know. So there also is that calculator that was posted in the pins in general that you can use if you want to just not really think about the math too much and just be like, okay, what about this kind of hero or that kind of hero? And you can just kind of see what that is going to look like in the results on that calculator, which I think is probably the best way, what I'd recommend for people that don't very much enjoy math like I do. Yeah, but I'm excited to get that, announce the new hero transcending system, the divine essence, and everything that's kind of coming along with that. I've read a lot of comments. I listened to Bogside Chat yesterday, and looking forward to hearing more about what you guys think about it as the days go on. But again, just remember that we announced it pretty early, and that was just because it ties to all of these different votes that we have coming up. And we wanted to make sure that you guys were well informed about what we had planned in advance of that. So, yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Hubert, again for all of that. Yeah, super fun to see everybody's reactions to it, and looking forward to that continuing. We will have, we already have one special guest with us today. We will have two more. So one of them will be hopping in shortly for a few minutes. We'll introduce them when they get here. And then we will have another one hopping in at the end for some fun stuff as well. But right now we also have the one and only Winston Jazzhands here with us. Winston is going to be doing me a favor, and he will be hosting next week's AMA as I will be out of town. So he came to hang out and watch the fun, and I just promised to make things awkward for him. So I'm working on that.
Good, thanks, Bolon. Hey, thanks everybody. Glad to be here. Super fun to get up on the AMA. It's gonna be really fun to host next week, and we're gonna get a little crazy. So be ready for that.
I will still be policing alpha next week before anybody gets any wild ideas. I see you Sticks intern already thinking about it. But so couple other updates. Our RFP for Layer 0 has been officially submitted, which actually I'll see if I can find the link and drop that in chat here in a minute. But we had announced out before that so Layer 0 is preparing to do their token distribution. As part of that, they have a portion of it that they then allow projects to weigh in on how they would like that to be distributed to their users. So that will be going to reward those staked in the jeweler. So like I said, I'll see if I can find that link in just a second. I'll drop it in chat, but it is live on the Layer 0 RFP website. So if you want to upvote it, comment on it, whatever the case may be, feel free. I'll be honest, I don't actually know if that matters, but if you want to, please do. We accept it no matter what. And here is that link, actually. There we go. Which I think I can. Nope. Okay. Oh, wait. There we go. So there is that link if anybody wants to check it out. All right, let's see here. Speaking of the Layer 0 RFP, kind of, I guess it's related because it's CNS Jewel. Voting. Fox, you want to talk about the voting system?
Yeah, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Sorry, I'm on some weird ear pods.
You sound good.
But okay, great. Yeah, so the voting system, I've been talking about it for a while. There's now a interface for snapshot.org inside of our game, which is great. I put up a link last week for sort of like an alpha site that we were using for that feature, and a number of you went and voted on it, and that was really cool to have that test. Since then, we also added support for ranked choice voting, and I put up a couple of votes there too that I saw some of you guys went and tested as well. So seems like that works well. And since the single choice and the ranked choice vote types are the only ones that we've ever done in the past, and sort of like the only ones that we plan to do, those are the ones we're going to launch with. And we now can start to have some votes. I'm still currently working on trying to get the Holiday support up. Holiday has a really cool feature that they added to our staging environment that allows for Holiday users to vote. And Holiday's in the process now of having that get rolled out to our production environment, but it's not there yet. But we were able to test that on the staging, and it looks like it works really well. And it's a pretty smooth experience. So we don't want to wait around too long. So what we want to do is hold a vote this weekend that I think probably Bullen's going to go into more details about, which will be sort of a precursor vote for a number of other votes. I think we've got 3 other ones, don't quote me on that we want to do after this first one. So hopefully by those other ones, we might have Holiday ready. I can't say for sure because it's really on them and their timetable, and I'm not sure what that looks like yet. But well, at least for the first one, we won't have Holiday support in time for that one, probably. So for that one, if you have a Holiday account and you want to use it for voting, you can delegate your CJewel power for the voting to any other address. So you'd have to basically delegate that to a MetaMask address. And then for heroes, there isn't any way to delegate those. So you'd actually have to transfer those to another MetaMask in time for the snapshot. And the snapshot happens at the start of the period for the voting. So when it actually opens, basically. So if you had heroes that you would like to be included in that vote and they're on Holiday, you'd have to move those over to MetaMask, probably like a few hours before the snapshot. And then once the snapshot happens, have them just get like moved back, and then you'll be able to vote with them in that snapshot vote. So we'll have more information about the timing around that announced here in this AMA, and then also probably in the announcements channel as well. So stay tuned for those. And hopefully next time around, we'll not have to do the whole moving around heroes, because we'll just have Holiday be supported automatically.
Yes. Appreciate you, Fox. And we will have some details on that. I'm going to circle back to those because right now I have a special guest we're going to bring up. For those of you that don't know him, you must be living under a rock, but we have the one and only Yellow Panther joining us today. How's it going, YP? Also, shout out. I know it's like 2 a.m. for you, so thank you for being here for a few minutes.
Yo, what is up, guys? Thanks for having me. Yo, I don't know why I don't have a PFP and you guys all have PFP. I look so lame now.
Yeah, you got to set it in StreamYard. But if anybody doesn't recognize you, I mean, that's more commentary on them than you at this point, you know?
Damn. But yeah, appreciate you guys. And yeah, man, for those of you who do not know, I actually play DeFi Kingdoms since 2021. So I'm practically an OG.
No, you definitely are an OG, and now you're a part of the game. You're in DeFi Kingdoms forever.
I know that's so crazy. When Dreamer brought it up, it's kind of crazy to me. I still have like 2 weeks. I haven't shared it much. It's only DeFi Kingdom community who knows it. So I can't wait to make some content and actually share it to the world and make it even more exciting because it's gonna be super time limited.
Yeah, I think there's about 2 weeks left on it, and then obviously the aftermarket after that. But the aftermarket will be the only place to get it after that period. So we're super excited to have you immortalized in the DeFi Kingdoms world.
That's freaking crazy. That's crazy.
Anything you want to talk about or tell us about? Anything you've got going on?
No, I think you guys have been cooking a lot lately, especially with the combat system that was only introduced like recently. So super impressed with that. And also I got my friends who also have their visage, Doug, super cool one with the fur and stuff like that. Crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm excited to see that continue, and excited for you to be an early part of it too.
Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah, I can't wait to collect all these different kinds of cosmetic, and eventually maybe next time I'll have a weapon too. Let's see.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you hopping in. Like I said, I know it's like 2 a.m. for you, so thank you for sacrificing some sleep to come see us.
No, all good. It's an honor actually. But yeah, I'm gonna be listening into some of your updates. Are you guys not at consensus?
We are, yes. Dreamer and Sunbear are at consensus, which is why they're not up here today.
I see. No wonder. Okay. Can't wait to see some of the pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll also be rubbing it into Dreamer that he wasn't here when you came by and stopped by to see us. I know he'll be sad he missed it.
I know. Unfortunate.
We greatly appreciate you. You're welcome to hang out with us as long as you'd like, but if you do drop to go to bed, it's also understandable. So whatever you want to do, YP.
No, I would love to continue and listen to some of these amazing updates.
Awesome. Well, yeah, in that case, we will circle back. So on the voting front, like Fox said, we will be announcing these details a little later as well so that people have notice to prepare. However, the first vote, which is what we talked about yesterday on the roundtable, so basically just seeing if people would like to increase the voting power of Gen Zeros and lands. That vote will be going live on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, which is midnight UTC Sunday. And that vote will run for 72 hours. We also mentioned yesterday, but I'm going to mention again, if that vote does pass, it will take us a little bit of time to implement that strategy into the voting system. So once that is done, then we will start the other votes. If it does not pass, then we'll be able to start those other votes a little quicker. Either way, it's not going to be a long delay. So that shouldn't influence your vote by any means, but just for informational purposes. So that is
Isn't it okay if I
Yeah, go
mention a
ahead.
few things about that? Yeah, so this is something we've been talking about internally for a while because we've been hearing a lot of questions from the community about this as well. You know, currently all heroes are just kind of counted the same. And realistically, like they all have a fairly similar value. I mean, obviously there's like some that are very, very rare, like mythic dread knights and stuff. Um, but there is one that really stood out, and that was the Gen Zeros as a very easy, like this has a lot more value than other heroes. So that's the one that we're sort of starting with. We're saying, you know what, let the community decide if you guys think it should be worth more in terms of like the power for the voting, then cast your vote there. And then we also were kind of talking about it with like our other assets, and you know how those stack up. And I think there's actually a question about this later, so I won't go into too much details. But basically, we included land in the vote too, because we just sort of like figured if we're increasing one, then you guys might want to also increase the other. So really, it's just up to you guys. That's what the vote's for. We want to get that vote out before these other ones so that it can actually be able to take effect for the other ones. So that's the whole reasoning there.
Nice. Yes. Thank you, Fox. Let's see. One last update. Speaking of Vizzies, we had a new Vizzy go live last night. We will be sending an announcement about that a little later as well. That is the Forager Vizzy. So for those of you that remember the Fisher Vizzy, we now have the Forager Companion to go along with it, which is super exciting. Beetle, anything you want to add on the Forager Vizzy?
Not a ton. Just excited to have another one out there. Female and male versions both look awesome. And the walking stick is, I guess, our second weapon Vizzy, and it is replacing staffs as a weapon visage. So yeah, check it out. It's pretty cool.
Nice. All right. Let's go into some questions. All right. So there were some questions submitted on the back of the roundtable yesterday. We are going to take those first and then go back into our normal flow of questions. So, hero score for transcending heroes. We laid out the various factors as to how the hero score is calculated when a hero is to transcend. One feature that is not included is traits and abilities. Could we share the thought process on not including traits in the formula?
Yeah, sure. I think first and foremost, it's just there's a complication factor that kind of fits into it. We already are taking into account so many different aspects of the hero, to where if we expanded to looking at specific genes, in that like beyond hero class, then if we did traits, then people might ask, well, why don't you do all of the appearance genes, and what about this, that, or the other? So like at some point we got to draw the line, and I felt that as far as like universally applicable to like pretty much everything in the game, the parameters that we picked were I think enough. With the traits, I mean, those are specific to combat, which is a very important part of the game, but just a matter of like it was a lot of effort just to come up with a good balanced set of equations to score things as it was. If we were to add that in as well, it would have just made that all that much more difficult to do. So I think that's kind of the main factor, really. And just it didn't want to overdo it on the complexity.
Awesome. Appreciate it. This next question is really just a wide sweeping question. From where can one achieve well, not if I can't say it. From where can one achieve enlightenment? I really want to just leave it at that because I want to know the answer myself. But in this case, on what realms do we expect the transcending divine essence system to be released initially, if we are prepared to say so?
Currently, I mean, as we mentioned yesterday as well, like this is still a couple months out at least. The there are things that may change, but we are currently planning on it releasing on both the Cyrodiil and Crystal Vale realms. So yeah, that'd be like with the categories. So the Realm of Burn was one of them. So if you're going multiplayer hunting, that will be a factor as well. At least that's what we're planning right now.
Nice. Speaking of those factors and multipliers, thoughts on what day one could look like? Do we have concerns about a massive push that could cause bottlenecks on the chain itself? And have we given any thought of potential for like mass botting on day one to maximize those multipliers?
Yeah, so I have been thinking about that, and I understand the concern. Typically, especially for something like this, where there's like a first one in gets a reward kind of thing, it makes it difficult where we have an audience that's global, and we have a launch time that tends to be around the American evening. So I do have some thoughts about things we could do to mitigate that. But we haven't really made any firm decisions on going any specific routes. But it is something I plan to be talking about internally here to see if there's something we can pull off. I think the most probably some of the easier things that we could do. I mean, not easier, but like most fair, I guess, for players would be to have some sort of like pre-launch registration system that we can use, and then like have it not be like first in, but a random selection from whoever like registers in that, just for that period of like the very initial first burns, because I think once the system's out and running, and people have hit it with that initial burst, then it's going to kind of be a matter of specific more rare heroes. No one has burned this one yet, and people can kind of just find those little multiplier treasures, or also be looking out for when like the multiplier starts to grow again as well. So I think at that point we won't need to worry about things as much.
Thoughts on increased costs for rerolling hero levels based on rarity?
So on the hero, like the level rerolling, that does include like an extra cost on like every 5th level, since rarity is really the only impacts rarity has to like leveling up is just during those specific levels, so level 5, 10, etc. So there is an increased cost to rerolling those, which was included in the presentation. Depends on the rarity, but for any other level up, like that there's isn't really a change compared to based on rarity in terms of like how things will go. So I didn't really see there being a good reason to do that. So if the question was specifically about leveling up and not like the level reset feature, I guess that answers that. So
Which the rerolls, they'll increase as well every 5 levels, right? With the rarity bonuses.
So with the rerolls, if you do a reroll on a 5th level, like there's an extra fee of Divine Essence that's required, in addition to what the normal cost would be.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. All right. A few questions on voting in the upcoming votes in particular. I know we will be getting various options in regards to changing summoning cooldowns. Would we express the teams or our individuals' preferences as to which option we see as best for the game, even if the team opts out of the actual vote itself? Which, yes, we will be opting out of the vote itself, which is our usual.
So yeah, I can't speak for the team as a whole. I'll just speak to it on my own, and I've said this before in other like with podcasts and in our roundtable yesterday as well. Like the concern that was brought up with the community was, what are we doing to address hero inflation and to help hero value? And we really have 3 levers that we can pull to help with that. One is to have more burn mechanics, which we are planning to do. Another is to adjust cooldown timers, which we are having a vote for. And the third is to adjust summoning costs themselves, which we won't be doing anything right now for that. Like, to address that community concern, I think this is this doing summoning cooldowns is one of the better things that I think we can do. It's up to the community to decide if that's something that you want us to do. And so I personally think it would be better for the game to have increased cooldowns, but that's just my own stance and not necessarily speaking for the team.
From your personal opinion, out of the two increased cooldown options that there will be, do you have a preference?
Not necessarily. I think the longer the better, but I can see reasons why people wouldn't like that. So I think you should vote with your heart. I guess originally when I was trying, initially devised this system, I didn't want there to be any maximum cooldown at all. But that's not an option here today. But that was kind of how I wanted it to be in the beginning. So I guess if that helps.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Anybody else have anything they want to share on that?
I guess I'll share some thoughts. This is a tricky one, and I think there's going to be a lot of strong opinions on all sides. We've seen a lot of requests for this just over the past almost 3 years since we've launched Heroes. It's been a very common theme. It's oftentimes come up. And so, I think that there's all kinds of things that we can do to address hero inflation, just like Hubert was saying, like adding utility, adding burn, all those types of things, I think are going to be probably some of the most effective things that we can do. I also think, Hubert's a really smart guy, and he has done a lot of math around this. And, there's a certain rate around what is the maximum rate of hero creation if we basically consider all of the Gen Zeros, and if all of them are essentially being used to create heroes at the highest rate and all of that. And so he has sort of an actual hard number for that. And he says, look, if we did this and this and this, that would reduce that max by, 30% or 50% or whatever it is. So I think he's essentially been really, really thoughtful about these options. And he was one of the main influencers of the options that are up. And so I think that it's great. And as a Gen Zero holder myself, I actually won't vote because we don't vote, but I would probably support it. But as a project sort of influencer, or as one of the builders, I guess, I'm a lot more concerned that we do what you guys want. So really make sure to go cast your votes. That's the whole point of this protocol and of SDUL and CDUL. That's the whole point, is to empower you guys to make these choices. So I would encourage you to just look at it and have a vote and do what you think is best. From our side, we're happy to do whatever you guys think is best, and also to inform those with math and with statistics and all the things that we can. So we have really spent a lot of time speaking about this internally and sort of weighing all the options and all that type of stuff. And we are now presenting these to you. So that's what I'll say.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate both of you gentlemen. One last vote-related question. Thoughts on including a vote option to extend the summoning cooldown timers with the addition of allowing players to bypass it for a fee. The fee could take the summoning cost and multiply it by some variable based on the duration you are bypassing. This would give compulsive players their fix, and the whole ecosystem benefits from the power token spend. So you have hero inflation offset by additional power token deflation.
So yeah, I saw Mr. Zipper had responded to this question in the Discord chat yesterday, and I think he had a pretty good response in terms of as I mentioned, there's the three levers that we could potentially pull. This would be kind of combining 2 of them, which is something that it sounds like perhaps with a good enough multiplier, it would work out okay. But once we start working with cost changes as well, like there are additional considerations to be made, like perhaps right now with the way that power tokens are, it would be appropriate to have a really high multiplier. But then in the future, if there's a big change in like the value of those things, and they go up by quite a lot, then there may be a lot of requests for us to change it again. I think especially with price, it does kind of come. I think it has a little bit more of a risk of needing to be revisited multiple times based on the economy. So I think we're a little bit more hesitant on bringing up this, and I this doesn't necessarily, it's kind of related but not, but in a way it is, because if you could bypass the cooldown and say just for example like a Gen 0 at max, it's like okay, it'll be, if you just want to summon constantly nonstop, it's like 1,000 power tokens as just an example, instead of the normal 30. Like if the value of the tokens are such that people are willing to do that, then we could end up with hundreds of new Gen 1s instantly. So it kind of would counteract the hero inflation desires that that have come from the community. So like we'd have to set the number high enough, and would the number be too high if we set it too high initially, kind of thing. So kind of a rambly answer, but I think that it's an interesting idea. Just there's also, I think, a lot of concerns that come about from opening that can of worms, I think.
For sure. Greatly appreciate the insight there. Real quick, and then I do want to answer a couple questions out of chat, but Yellow Panther has decided that he's going to give 5 lucky winners a Yellow Panther Visage set at the end of this stream. So in the chat, you need to type #YP. #YP will then enter you. I'm going to type it as an example. If the DeFi Kingdoms account wins, I'll re-roll it. But type that in to get entered into the chat, or into the drawing, I should say. And then at the end of the stream, we will make those drawings, and I will plug that a couple more times as we go. But go ahead and get those entries in while you can. It is, I think it is actually, it might be case sensitive, so make it lowercase. I don't know if it's case sensitive. So based on the number of entries, I would say it is not, but just in case, do lowercase YP just to be safe. But that's super exciting, and we'll draw those at the end. Cannot wait for that. To pull something out of chat, people are talking about basically like, well, what happens if our user base multiplies, right? Obviously anybody's welcome to chime in on this as well, but I will I'll just say up front to start it with that's obviously what we're here for, and what we 100% believe will happen. But it's all about the balancing of supply and demand. And as it currently stands, Hubert talked a little bit about the numbers yesterday and went even more in depth on the Mythic Squad stream like a month ago. As it is set up right now, the potential supply is massively exponential. What we see being added to the supply is a fraction of what can be added to the supply. And so if nothing on the supply mechanic side changes, then as demand increases, supply increases to accommodate that demand, and there's effectively a net zero change, because there's a lot of heroes out there that aren't being summoned with currently. And so if the demand starts increasing, those heroes start being summoned with, and there's no actual increase in demand because the supply has increased equally. So, it's something that has to be addressed from both sides. So from the supply side, there's the main 3 things, which we've talked about a few times: cooldowns, burn, and cost. We're looking at cooldowns and burn currently. From the demand side, there's several factors realistically, but an easy two, burning is in itself also a demand, so it affects both sides of the equation. And then user acquisition is obviously another big part of demand. But if we don't make any changes to the supply side, like, Hubert, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say, like, the overall possible, which is not likely, is that like 50 million heroes could be summoned within 90 days. Are we saying that's what's going to happen? No. Hubert, is that right?
I think it was more like 40 million, but yeah.
Okay, sorry, 40 million. Are we saying that that's what's going to happen? No. But if we 10x our player base tomorrow, it's very, very simple for summoning to also 10x tomorrow, which would then put us back in the same place we are today. So it's about adjusting both sides of that equation. I've now rambled a lot. Fox, I think you unmuted and I cut you off. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries, you can cut me off. I was just eager. But yeah, I saw that chat comment also, and just sort of wanted to comment on that. I've said in the past, when you look at other like really popular NFT games out there, like Axie, for example, they've got like, I think, still 10 times more NFTs than we do out there. But they also have a lot of players. So really, in my mind, the most important part of the equation is really the utility and stuff that you can do with the heroes. And then as we get more players, that also helps increase them as well. And that's why we're actively building all the features that we are, because we would like to attract all those, like all excited players here. So it's also kind of why I was sort of hesitant to even bring this to a vote, because there's just like so many things that we can do, but it's been such a frequent topic in the community that we're like, you know what, let's just let them have like a vote on this, because really that's what it's all about. That's what Web3 is all about. So it's one of those things that I think will be an important part of the equation, but not the only part. And it's for sure options. And as you said, it's the capacity and it's the max theoretical amount. But as we get more players, as we get more utility, things like the essence that was like spoken about yesterday, those things will all increase the demand for heroes. And I think we're going to see that basically stabilize as we add more and more features. It's going to increase and reach a stabilization point at each step along the way, basically.
Appreciate you, Fox. Hubert, or anybody else, anything you want to throw in at the end of that?
Yeah, I think, we've talked about it a lot, so, I don't want to regurgitate too many times, but just as you said, at least for the cooldown side, it's kind of about increasing the pressure on the supply side. Like it would make Gen 1s more rare as far as like how many they can be that can be created, with the addition of like new burn mechanics like the divine essence. That also is going to make Gen 1s more valuable in that regard, because they'll be able to get a better hero score because they have more summons on them. So there's going to be more aspects that are going to apply pressure in that end. So I don't think we're going to see, like, if the cooldowns were to change, I don't think we would see a 100% correlation between like how the max would go down versus like what the reality would go down. I think it's going to be a percentage of that. So between probably 20 to 50%, I would say. And what we'd see instead is instead of just like everything being down, I think what we'd see is a bit of a shifting of summons happening to more summons happening from higher gen heroes, which we'd see less of. Which in a way does kind of contribute to helping power tokens, because summoning from those do tend to have higher costs. So I think overall I feel like it's a healthy shift to shift things. And I also think that in terms of what, because Gen 1s will become more rare, I think that will shift their value. Obviously that's up to the market to decide, and I could be wrong on that. And no financial advice here, but just with the basic concept of supply and demand, I think that will occur. So it's hard to say, oh, if you increase the cooldown timers, it's just going to be a net decrease in value of what Gen Zeros are. I don't think that's an accurate statement. Things will shift. It will take time for things to shift. We're also including a reset of summons to 19 for all Gen Zeros if any of those changes are made, which would mean that all Gen Zeros would basically start at where the current maximum is, and just do every new summon would add 4 hours to their cooldown timer the next time they summon. So there won't be any heroes that are going to see like a sudden major shift in their cooldowns. It'll be a more gradual thing, which will also mean like the impacts of that will be more gradual in terms of like what you see with hero inflation.
Awesome. Appreciate it. We are going to go slightly out of order for one more question, which is actually, sorry, before that, I promised that I would do something. Here, our trait's going to slap.
We are making sure that they are proportionate to each other as far as how much they slap. I'm not going to say that having one trait means you win. I think it'll give you a pretty good advantage, but we still also need to balance the game, so it's not just you win because you have this trait and there's no chance for anyone else. So we want to make sure there's also strategy and everything else involved.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I hope, Beeve, that makes you feel better. So we are going to change topics and go a little bit out of order because this one has a time component to it. But the upcoming Klaytn relaunch, I guess, to the new Kaya chain, what that means for Sarandale and Jade. I mean, I can try to give my understanding, but Fox, do you want to talk on that?
Sorry, I was over here lost in a daydream about the vote. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, the upcoming Klaytn to Kaya relaunch.
Right, yeah. So this is something that we've been following very with interest. I'll see if I can talk today. And like as the Klaytn Foundation has been sort of like fleshing out their plan, they've also been sort of letting us know what that plan is, basically as soon as they can. And we had a lot of concerns at the start about like what this would mean for our like realm there, what it would mean for our assets, for the bridges, all this stuff. And we expressed those very early on. And I think a lot of those concerns actually might have played a factor in their decisions that they made as well. So how they're doing it right now is actually very good for us in terms of build, because it's going to be fairly seamless. What they're really doing is basically kind of like rebranding a little bit. So the existing chain will continue to exist. All of the assets that are there, all the smart contracts, all the bridges will still be there. And they'll be basically adding new technology to that chain, as well as the stuff that they would be getting from like the, is it line? Crap. From over the, sorry, what was that?
Finchia,
yeah. So it's the chain that is basically merging with them. And I think it's a really good way of doing it. It means that the existing projects that are live will be very minimally impacted. So there won't have to be any kind of like new contracts that are having to be like created or built for that. It could mean increased limits for gas, but I don't know that that's been explicitly discussed. But they are adding a lot of new features to it as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we're definitely following along closely, but as the current plan, it doesn't sound like it should be anything too crazily disruptive for us at least. And we'll have more information as things happen.
Yeah, I'll also just say that I think it's a really exciting opportunity, because there's a whole ecosystem that is basically being added to our current realm without a lot of or like any really additional work on our side to support that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see that unfold, and I think it's a smart move on all parts.
Awesome. Switching things up and going into some combat related stuff. We've talked about scrub fights, lower level PvE that will come a little later. Do we have plans to have some of those cost 5 to 10 stamina, whatever amount other than 25, or do we anticipate each combat encounter being 25 stamina?
So no, I don't anticipate every combat encounter taking 25 stamina. Scrub fights in particular, I expect to work fairly differently than how void hunts work right now. But I don't want to say too much on that since we're still pretty early on the design for that.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Current plans for more future power-ups. Should we expect more after PvE, PvP? Any thoughts on that?
I would say probably. I mean, we're always looking to see if a given feature will benefit from having power-ups attached to it. Expeditions would be an example of where we will be adding more power-ups for that. So it likely that there will be more. Beyond that, I think there will likely be ones kind of related to land, ones related to traveling. It's hard to imagine all the ideas we might come up with in the future. So I think we will continue to add them as we think it's appropriate. But yeah.
Also, I was reading something, so I might have missed it. But did you mention expeditions?
I sure did.
All right, cool. Thank you. Let's see. Thoughts on being able to change abilities on a failed hunt before a retry?
Yeah, so I mean the concept of the retry is really just like let you reset your to the start that you had initially. So if you don't like the skills you selected, then you would actually like we set up so like you're not resetting time at that point, you're actually trying with a whole different layout. If you want to do that, we have it set up so you'd have to like wait for your stamina to recover or your stamina potions and actually accept the defeat rather than do a reset. I don't see us changing that for now. We haven't really gotten to the point where we may be even more strict with skills, but that I think maybe going more in that direction versus the opposite in the future.
On that topic, thoughts on having a warning if somebody goes to start a hunt and did not select abilities in the meantime?
Indeed. Yeah, I think we have one for loadouts, but I guess we don't have one for hero skills yet. So I'll add that to the list, the short list, to get that going.
Cool. Let's see. Yeah. Thoughts on adding an NPC to the world called the Recruiter that would be like a referral leaderboard? I mean, I'll just say for myself, I think it's an interesting idea. It's very, 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 very difficult in Web3 to prevent something like that from just being rampantly and brutally abused. However, we have seen some different platforms have some pretty good innovation in that direction. So I think it's definitely something that could be considered in the future, but we would obviously want to make sure that it is protected so that it doesn't just get botted into oblivion. So, it's definitely something that would be very interesting. And I think we are seeing things move in a direction where it could be more feasible, but I don't think it is just yet personally. Anybody else have thoughts they want to add to that? All right. Content creator vizies and I guess kind of the strategy around them, such as starting with Doug and then going to Yellow Panther prior to going to DFK content creators. I mean, I'll just say like DFK content creators are absolutely on our list. We love all of you guys. Y'all are phenomenal. But part of the goal is to use those visages to get people outside of DFK talking about DFK. So like Yellow Panther, for those of you that don't know, he has a very large following that is very diverse in Web3 gaming. So being able to, work with these creators to put their IP into the game, YP's IP, into the game helps, reach other audiences than our own. However, there is also a secondary benefit of that the more eyes that we bring in, then we, look towards our own content creators. Those are more eyes that then get on our own content creators. So I love all of you guys, and our content creators are phenomenal. But the flip side of that is if we do a DFK content creator visage right now, they are going to be marketed pretty exclusively to the current DFK player base. So we're looking at these as a way to expand our reach, get in front of other audiences, and then also potentially bring those audiences to our content creators. So that is our goal. And then sorry, I was reading a comment from Beef. Anybody have anything they want to add to that before we move on? That broke my brain. All right. Let's see. Since the deal with Metis, does the team feel like they've seen an increase in productivity in general? Are there still bottlenecks that the team is working through? I'll kick that one off and just say I definitely feel like we've seen an increase in productivity. I think we've got a lot of really cool stuff that's happening. Some of that stuff is very large, which is why you may not have seen releases for it yet. But we've seen significant progress on expeditions, obviously PvP, massive, and we've seen a lot of progress there as it continues. Are there still bottlenecks? There will always be bottlenecks, which actually I'm going to loop in the second question is, are we satisfied with the current base of development? And do we have plans on changing up things? So are there still bottlenecks? Of course, there's always bottlenecks. It's one of the joys of working with blockchain technology. You get new bottlenecks. But, all in all, I think our productivity has definitely increased. As far as the current pace of development, obviously we always want things to be faster because we're impatient too, but things are moving very, very well. And as far as bringing in new people, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but, bringing in a new person, especially a developer, ultimately slows you down first because you have to take the time to get them up to speed. We have an incredibly custom code base and build and, hundreds, if not over 1,000 at this point, smart contracts that all interact with each other. There's a lot going on under the hood. And so bringing somebody in means that somebody else has to take the time to get them caught up, teach them how to work within our system, all of that fun stuff before that new person is really being productive. So it definitely does change that equation a little bit. But anything anybody wants to add to that? All right, man. I'm just nailing these answers.
I'll just add that, just a gut feeling, and I actually probably do have hard numbers, but just, it definitely feels like we're all a lot more productive right now. There's a lot of excitement about the stuff we're building, and that is always fun to work on, and having, additional funding for it as well helps a lot.
For sure. All right. We are going to pause there to bring up our third special guest of the day. Real quick, don't forget, if you have not already, type #YP lowercase in chat to be entered to win a Yellow Panther visage. We will be picking 5 winners here at the end of the AMA in just a few minutes. And Yellow Panther will be giving those winners some visages. So make sure you type #YP into the chat if you have not already. Do it lowercase just in case. I'm not sure if it matters, but yeah, gotta make sure. Also, you guys are ridiculous. Anyway, bringing up a guest that you should all be very familiar with, the Bloater.
Hello. Thanks for having me on. Good to be here again. as usual. Love it.
Yeah, glad to have you. And I believe that our resident bloater has an event coming up that is in 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah. Yep, 2 weeks, and it's actually a multi-week event. So it is the Mythic Squad Void Hunt Tournament number 2. That's right. And we have a very detailed setup. Most importantly, the most important factoid for anyone listening now who hasn't yet signed up is that we have I originally put up a $1,000 USDC prize pool with $600 to the first place finisher, $300 to the second place finisher, and $100 to third place. But Christian Peter has also generously offered to throw up some blow tokens, $600 to double the first prize entry winnings. So if you enter this tournament, you could win a shitload of money. And most importantly, it's going to be a really good time. We have 18 people currently signed up out of 32 available slots, right? And 14 more people can sign up. Signups close by next Wednesday, June 5th. So if you haven't signed up by then, it's tough luck. You won't be able to get in. And the event itself is going to occur. Opening rounds are going to be Saturday and Sunday, June, I think it's 8th and 9th. Let me just confirm that. Yep, June 8th and 9th is when we're going to play the opening rounds. And then the finals, the top 16 people after the opening rounds will advance and play in the finals on the 22nd. We are once again doing an AFIX style tournament with different limitations and challenges that our competitors must face. Unlike last time, we haven't yet revealed them because we got feedback that, they came out too early. So this time we're revealing them next Monday, June 3rd. So you'll have 5 days to prepare and only really a day and a half to sign up after they come out before the deadline closes. So get your signups in if you want to compete. It's going to be a good time. And I strongly encourage everyone to watch, even if you don't compete. You will only need 4 teams. Last time you needed 6. This time you're only going to need 4. So don't tell yourself you don't have enough teams. You can do this. You can do this. And then, while I have this bully pulpit, I just want to say any DFK content creators out there that, want to have a Vizzy in the game right now, you're not thinking in your own rational self-interest. You want more people to buy that thing. Wait till we get more people in the game. Let's use outside people first. Shout out YP. Great to be on the same AMA as him.
All right, Winston, do you have your 4 teams prepared? Because I think you're the best bet for representing the team.
I'm actually holding off. So I want players, like real players, to play. So I'm gonna hold off until right before registration ends, and if there's slots, I'll get in there, and I'll probably just win the whole thing, So hopefully people sign up.
First off, you are a real player in my heart, sense, and I like it.
Play.
But I don't want to go embarrass us all, so we gotta put Winston up for it.
I heard Sashay's pretty good.
Sashay's would be good, but I think the time zones might be an issue.
Well, I don't know what time zone he's in, but we do have 2 people in Europe signed up already. So if he's in, the same vertical line of the earth as they are, you might be able to make it work. I do give time slot availabilities. That is another thing. So if you're only available at one specific time, we can work around you. Mythic Squad is the people's guild, baby.
Awesome. Well, I will have to put some pressure on Sashay as well then.
14 slots open.
Super excited for it. The first one was awesome. I'm sure the second one is going to be even better. So I'm super excited for it, and just want to, as always, say kudos to you guys for putting that together and hosting it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's our pleasure. I'm trying to get the League Tech guys to come watch. I've been messaging them on Twitter. So, kind of see what the community is all about, what we can use, because I feel like, there could be a great mingling of community there.
Very nice. That's awesome. Well, stay right there. We are going to draw winners. So this is your last chance to type hashtag YP, just the letters, into chat to be entered into this Vizzy giveaway. I'm dropping another example in chat. No, the DeFi Kingdoms account will not win, but we are going to pull 5 winners to win Yellow Panther Visages. So make sure you get entered right now, because as soon as I share this, I am going to do the drawings. There it is. All right. And then the winners will message me with their OX. I will collect them all and send them over to the man himself, Yellow Panther. So let's make this a little bigger so that y'all can actually see it. And let's do this. So, first winner. It's a lot of entries. Rinpin, congratulations, Rinpin. Make sure that you DM me your OX. We're going to draw again. The real question is, can I count to 5? And we're going to find out the answer today. Panga Panga. Shoso. And yes, for anybody wondering, I am using my fingers to keep track of this. We are at 3 so far. All right. Let's see. Ghost Panda, congratulations. And the final winner will be Dags. All right. So we have got our 5 winners. Please do reach out to me with your OX so that I can collect those and send them over to Yellow Panther to get your prizes. All right. Before we shut it down for the day with Styx Intern, does anybody else up here have any final comments? Anything they want to say before we shut it down?
I'll just say I'm excited to catch some of that tournament. I hope, I really liked all the different affixes you had last time. I'm interested to see what you came up with this time. And congrats to all the winners just now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, same. I'm excited about that too. I just really love all of the guilds that are so active. I'm also super excited to see the votes and all the numbers come in. I really love statistics and analytics and stuff, and I love hearing from all of you guys too. So, thanks.
Awesome. As always, thank you to everybody who is up here answering questions. Thank you to everybody who's listening now and will listen later. And thank you to everybody who continues to submit questions for us to answer, because otherwise this would be a really awkward hour. As always, you can submit questions on talk.defikingdoms.com or the AMA questions channel in Discord. We do go chronologically, so if we have not answered your question, it does not mean we are not going to. It just means we have not gotten to it yet. But greatly appreciate you all. As always, looking forward to next week. As I mentioned at the beginning, I will not actually be here. Winston will be hosting next week, but I am going to try to tune in at least, and if not, I will catch the replay so that I can see how Winston does. But over to you, Styx Intern, to take us away.
Thank you all once again for your time, and thanks for putting it in every week. Very much looking forward to next week with Winston and, the Alpha Police on vacation. That's going to be awesome. We all know it. Shout out crowd. Really happy that everyone's showing up for these AMAs. Keep listening. And with that, I want to give you guys the most mythic thing ever, and that's bullish.
Bullish.
Thanks,
See
dude.
you all next week.
XYP. See you guys.
DeFi Kingdoms, where you can summon heroes, trade with other players, quest, and fight challenging enemies in a fantasy world brought to life in pixel art animation. Command